welcome to Self Care After. This episode, we will be discussing self care after acceptance. There is a phrase that the elders say, you cannot correct what you don't accept. So I want to explore what ways of Black folk, ways defined in beliefs or measured in beliefs, attitudes, and behavior. What are some of our ways that we have yet to fully accept in order for us to correct, in order for us to make better? I will be talking while planting my mint plant, this cute pot that I found. And I have a tree that I'm going to try to bring back to life that I also found. So let's get started. So, one of the benefits of a liberal arts education is that you have, or you're equipped with an interdisciplinary approach to many things, or at least I definitely take advantage of that. So, as a cultural analyst, that means that I include historical foundation, the contingencies and conflicts of a culture, the ways of the culture, like how they, we, us, them, it operates, right? I always say that when love is present, even criticism shows up differently. The criticism reflects that love. And I say that because we have a culture that's built on anti Blackness. And a lot of us learn to engage with Blackness, Black culture, Black people through the lens of anti Blackness. So it looks like being hypercritical towards Black folk, right? It looks like constantly scrutinizing Black folks. So a good way to measure is when you're out in public um, and Black folks or Black things are a topic, and or let's say even online, right, on social media, are your comments more negative than they are positive? That's a self-assessment. So, in looking at what are the defining traits of a community of people, what came to mind when our young sister Micaiah Bryant, um, rest in peace, sister. I saw people being upset at the misogyny, the just overall general hatred and contempt towards Black women being expressed online, particularly when it related to murder of this young sister. So I also want to acknowledge that each Black ethnic group, along with all ethnic groups, have different relationships with patriarchy, with white supremacy, meaning continental Africans engage with white supremacy different than Haitians, different than Black Americans, just different. Thinking about the ways of a people, we have to consider their ethnic group, their culture, what all goes into making them who they are, and their beliefs and their attitudes towards, let's say, violence against women, even, right? Oh, this is good. Y'all see that? Oh, and I did water her. I forgot. I watered her. So, real quick with the plant, I'm putting a little bit of dirt at the bottom of this bin because you don't want the roots to be at the bottom because that's where the water would gather. And that will risk root rotting. Your plant being overwatered. I'm also just like poking some holes, loosening up, not poking holes. We leave them alone. We don't want to agitate the holes. I'm poking holes through the soil just to loosen it up. Try not to also disrupt too much of the root system it has already established. But they form, they do their thing. Like plants, they just grow. They don't need no permission. They don't need no instruction. They just do their thing. Even if conditions are not ideal, they still aim to do their thing, which is grow. So speaking of growth, human behavior is a little different. We do need instruction and direction to assist us in our growth, right? And so I'm thinking about my people, my African American community. I would honestly say that we have a culture that victim blames Black women. And this is a fact. but it's definitely prevalent in the culture. And we can see based off of the visceral responses that people have when Black women are victims of violence, or even when we're protecting ourselves. So Ma'Khia Bryant, the 16-year-old Black girl who was killed by police just moments after the George Floyd, excuse me, y'all, George Floyd um, court decision that said his murderer is a murderer. And I honestly don't want to speak his name. Okay. When I think of the sister Corinne Gaines, who defended herself against, I think maybe the police were invading her home, some violation of private property, right? And how people responded. Then I also think of myself and my experience as a Black girl and having to, let's say, like fight or physically defend myself or advocate for myself in terms of unfair treatment, let's say by adults, right? And how when you develop a reputation for defending yourself, which Black people do have, which Black women do have, it's oftentimes weaponized against us. And so it's this notion of, well, you don't need to be defended and protected because you got it. And it's like, oh, well, I'm only doing this because no one is coming for my defense. When the notion that Black girls are the most undefended, unprotected group of people, that looks a certain way. So my suggestion is that in our own lives, in our own homes, in our own communities, we begin to explore the ways that we do not show up for Black girls. And or first, I would say, in keeping up with the theme, we can't correct what we don't accept. How do you show up for Black girls, right? Are you scrutinizing? Do you shame them? Do you extend grace? Are you compassionate? Are you soft? And this is not just Black girls, this is Black women as well, right? No age, you know, distinction. Because if we do not acknowledge that we first sit in a position where we genuinely do not value Black women, then we cannot correct that behavior, correct that attitude, adjust those beliefs in the key necessary ways in order to bring about the change that we wish to see in the hood. It's quite simple. It's just corrective behavior is the challenge because it's a pattern, right? It's what you're used to. We're used to laughing at the pain, embarrassment, humiliation, or hardships of Black women. That's where a lot of these now famous comedians who made who made their debut on YouTube or Instagram, a lot of their content relies on mocking us in our head wraps or how we exist, right? The Black expression through the female form. And we really have to dissect that, really unpack what that is, where it comes from. I have all the theories. But most importantly, what we need to do to change it, what we need to do to correct it. Because Black women, Black communities, Black families, Black spaces deserve to be safe and sacred. And we cannot be safe if the members of our own community are perpetuators of harm and violence and or pacify harm and violence against us. This plant is leaning because I put too much dirt on one side. So, hashtag say her name. So we came up with that when Sandra Bland was killed because while we were doing work on disbanding the police union who were responsible for protecting killer cops, while we were working on or encouraging the policy changes to divest from police spending and reinvest that money into communities, Sandra Bland was killed, and we noticed the lack of visceral response from community to take charge to the streets, right? As we do when many of our brothers are killed. Black life is Black life, right? And so I recognize patriarchy's role in and it's in like the narcissistic element of these isms to focus on one entity and not the whole. But when we're talking about Black life, we cannot act as if Black women are not a part of the racial injustices, the racial fight that we are subjected to. Like fucking, of course we are, and it makes our argument that much stronger when we say these amount of Black folk were killed by police, opposed to limiting it to one gender, right? Um, but that's for us to really work through, right? And that's internal work. That's the work. That's the healing. That's the self care. That's, you know, how, in what ways do you perpetuate the problem? And once discovering that, that means that you're clear on what the solution can be. When you are the problem, you are also the key to the solution. That's why I smiled. Because this isn't to ridicule us, it's to say that y'all, this here's opportunity for growth, here's opportunity for ascension, here's opportunity for betterment, right? For all of us collectively. Um, why not take part in that? Um, so yeah, we can't correct what we don't accept. And it's about time that we accept the parts of us that are unbecoming. And one of it is how little value we as a collective hold for our women, for Black women, for the lives of Black women, for the safety of Black women and girls, right? Um, how you perpetuate it in your life, in your home, in your friend group, and what steps can you begin to take to shift that behavior, shift your attitude, and shift your beliefs again, so we could be the change that we wish to see in our hoods, in our communities. Because at the very least, we deserve to offer a safe space for all of us, right? So yeah. Don't forget to thumbs up this video. Look, isn't it cute? I know. Yeah, thumbs up, like, comment, share if you are commenting. Let's have some truth talk. Like, what's going on? What do you see, and what are some ways that we could correct the behavior? We meaning the Self Care After series, this project that uses social justice education infused with wellness and occasionally media literacy when appropriate. We want to be solution oriented. We know the problems, we are the problems in some cases, right? So, what do we need to do to make us better, each other better, all of it better? Um, I believe in us. It's still leaning, y'all. I'm gonna have to put more dirt. Or maybe it's, if the plant wants to grow leaning, who am I to change that direction? So we gonna let this plant do its thug thizzle. All right. Like, comment, share. Let the algorithms know that you are down to listen to Black women talk about plants and self care, community care, and solutions to our community issues. And I'm sure they will send you plenty of other sisters, other Indigenous folk, other women of color who are doing just that. Peace and love. I will see you next time. Oh, yeah, I'll see you next time.